Hey guys, welcome back. This is State Champs Esports. We were just looking at some of the footage and all the games that got announced for Summerfest. I'm really excited about them, but we decided the three of us want to talk about our top fives of what we're excited for, what's coming out, just in general. So, all right, Brent, so why don't we start off with you? What were you most excited about for Summerfest?
Okay. So coming up, we have Bayonetta 3. That's sometime this year. We don't have a release date yet.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of the first two games. As far as action games go, they're very deep. Like, there's a lot of expression allowed in Bayonetta, and you can just it's like you can
style.
Yeah, you can style really hard. Like, it's one of those things where you'll see, like, fighting game players might just have, like, a combo video for Bayonetta 2 or something. Like, you can just go on infinitely. And I'm very excited for Bayonetta 3, especially with some of the things they're incorporating with, like, it looks like you're going to have, like, summons. So you're going to be able to control the demons and stuff while you're fighting. It looks like a lot of fun. We don't know too much yet, but...
Anything you want to see in this new game? Like, in particular? New features, stuff like that?
Maybe. I don't know. I was really satisfied with, like, Bayonetta 1 and 2. Maybe there was a little bit of kind of RNG with the enemies. Like, they could, like, randomly parry you in Bayonetta 2 and just break your combo. There wasn't really anything you could do about it. Maybe, like, get rid of that. I don't know. Other than that, I just want to see more of the same, more or less, and kind of what they've already showed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what's your next game?
And then in late this year, we have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Right.
And I'm really curious about those because we've already had Legends Arceus this year.
I think they're taking a lot from that. I kind of feel like Arceus was a testing ground, essentially.
That's the way I saw it, too.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's going to be, like,
open world.
Big open world still. Maybe probably, like, a little more...
Like closer to Sword and Shield.
Closer to the mainline games in terms of, like, how the battle mechanics work. Because Arceus kind of, like, toned down the battle mechanics a little bit. They probably want to keep the multiplayer aspect.
Yeah.
But everything we've seen so far is really cool. I like all the new Pokemon designs.
I believe it has up to, like, 4-player co-op, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's 4-player co-op, and you can just, like, go out and explore however you want. It's looking really promising. I wasn't, like, super satisfied with Sword and Shield, and this looks like a good step in the right direction.
More of an evolution of the franchise than Sword and Shield, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then next I have Stray, which is coming out in July, I think. And that is, I don't know if you guys have seen this game at all. They've showed it at some of the Sony
I think I saw
State
a
of
little
Plays.
bit, not a lot.
It's basically just like a cat simulator. So you're a cat, and you're just, like, exploring this, like, kind of dark. It's like sort of futuristic cyberpunk type city, but it's just you're exploring it from the perspective of, like, a regular cat. So you're just, like, climbing across windowsills and things like that. I think it's a really unique idea. It seems like a chill game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It sounds like a interesting, like, new experience, honestly.
Yeah, it just caught my eye. And I haven't had really anything to play
In a while.
in a while, so, like, having something
Unique
like this that's just easy and relaxing, especially after I think the last game I put a lot of time into is Elden Ring, and Elden Ring's, like,
difficult.
Yeah, that game's not easy. Having something that's just laid back.
Yeah, you want something laid back and not high stress.
See,
I want the complete opposite. I want high stress. Not like I don't like a relaxing game here and there, though.
Yeah.
And then coming up, I don't know exactly when. It's, like, near the end of the year. Square Enix has a game coming out called Forspoken.
Yeah. I know
really
Haaris is excited about that as well.
It looks really sick. The thing with Square Enix is, like, it's kind of hard to judge. Like, you never know. It could be great. It could be bad. But what we've seen is really cool, and it mainly just looks like it looks open world to me.
It almost reminds me of like Final Fantasy 15's.
But I guess my main problem with Final Fantasy 15 was like the combat didn't feel super satisfying to me.
Mm-hmm.
The combat in this game looks great. It's like you just have the gimmick is like you kind of have control over like all the elements. So like they show the character like they'll be using like an ice attack, and then they'll use wind to like jump up in the air and then make like a weapon out of fire and throw it or something. Like I really can't do it justice unless you see the trailers.
I think
we'll have the
it looks
footage
super
playing over
fluid.
this, so.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me is like it takes a very classic style of gameplay, right? Like you're playing a mage, but they found a way to like modernize it and make it look super stylish. Like there's even like magic-based parkour, which I'll probably play here.
Yeah, like in the trailer they like jump into, or it was like some gameplay segment I saw.
Mm-hmm.
They like jump over the water and make like a skateboard or a surfboard out of ice.
God.
Just surf and then like jump off of it onto land, just go straight into combat.
That's sick.
Like it looks awesome.
I'm really excited for that.
Really
one.
fluid.
And it's coming out this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
End of the year. That's probably the like big AAA release that I'm the most excited for.
Yeah.
And then my last game is, I don't think we have a release date yet, but it is an indie game that goes by the name of Nitro Kid, and it's a deck building roguelike, so a la Slay the Spire. It's like cyberpunk, dystopian, synthwave, 80s nostalgia, kung fu aesthetic. And it's like isometric grid-based gameplay, and you're using cards to like do your attacks, and it's a roguelike. So it's very niche, but it fills a niche that I'm very much interested in.
It's a big niche now. Like roguelikes are like a big market now.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm excited for it. I love synthwave personally. Combine the two, I'm here for it.
Hell yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll go through mine next. So my top 5, I'm a huge fighting game nut. I love fighting games. There's a bunch that are being released. There's a bunch that got released already. But Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 5 I was kind of about, but the new one looks great. The combat and the inputs all look really crisp, and the style just looks sick. I love everyone's like maturation as characters, but also just graphically it looks like a great game.
That was my main thing too, was like the visuals in 6 are so vibrant and unique compared to 5. It looks a lot more like a game that's called Street Fighter, I guess, with like the graffiti splashes on the attacks and all that.
Yeah, because it seems like they're taking what they did in Street Fighter 4 and actually like evolving it. Instead of with 5, they kind of just like said, let's do something else.
Yeah.
The other big one I'm excited for is DNF Duel, which is coming out at the end of this month. Actually, I'm look out for the review for that from me. But I'm gonna be playing that, streaming that. I'm really excited. It's made by Arc Systems. For anyone who doesn't know, they made Dragon Ball Fighters. They made Guilty Gear, all the Guilty Gears, which are like some of the most stylish fighting games I've ever played. This one's sick. I'm super excited for it. It's actually based off a really old, not really old, but like an old, if anyone remembers Nexon.com, like MapleStory and all those games, that company made a side-scrolling RPG beat-em-up game. And all the characters are actually classes and subclasses from that game, but given like an actual story. So it looks really cool, really stylish. I'm really excited. The big one, which is, next year, but Final Fantasy 16. Really excited for that. It looks like they're taking the story in a completely different direction than they usually do. It just looks great. And I'm sure on PS5 it's going to look amazing. One of the ones I was really excited about was also another indie game, also another card-based roguelike indie game called Neon White.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up to you if you didn't talk about that. Another one that I saw that you might like is like, what is it? Midnight
Suns.
No, Midnight Fight something.
Midnight Fight Express?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like a 3D version of Hotline Miami.
Ooh.
It looks really cool, and I believe that game is made all by one guy.
Yeah,
Like it's just one
that
person.
was a big reason why it reminded me of Hotline Miami, which was made by only
One guy.
2 people
Never mind.
for that game.
What's it called?
Midnight.
Midnight Fight Express.
Yeah, Midnight
Did
Fight
they say when
Express.
that's coming out?
August 23rd.
That's coming out this
So-
year too.
This is a little footage on my phone.
Oh yeah, this looks sick.
It looks so interactive.
Yeah.
Like there was a part where like a chair like slides across the floor and you just like casually like kick it back over there or something like that. Like there's a lot of environmental interactivity.
It looks like a combination between Sifu and Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
Which is like sick.
Which
Sounds good to me.
One of the-
absolutely.
One of the things that we just showed when I was showing Haaris was I'll probably have the clip up here, but there's a guy getting his head slammed into a sink. So another example of that environmental fighting.
Yeah. I'm glad that more games are doing that now because that should have been a thing. But the one I'm talking about, Neon White, similar where it's a card-based roguelike shooter,
But isn't it
or
first
roguelike,
person?
but the difference is that it's a shooter.
Yeah.
It's like super fast-paced. You pick up random cards that give you weapons in-game. You can also dump them to do like a strong attack, but then you lose the card forever. It's a really interesting mechanic. I'm really excited. It's coming out literally in 2 days, so I'm probably going to stream it and review it as well. And finally, the last game I was really excited for, going on the same vein of Bayonetta 3, Gungrave Gore. For anyone
I haven't heard of that.
It's really obscure. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, it was this really random, obscure game that came out a long time ago about this like demon hunter cowboy with 2 revolvers and a gigantic minigun, and you like move in between those two styles of fighting. It was a lot of like combos and things like that. Very very Bayonetta-esque, but it was old.
Okay.
They even had an anime for a while, but they finally remade it, and it looks insane. Like if you like Bayonetta 3, definitely check this game
Okay.
out.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be up your alley. But it's a lot like moodier and darker.
Okay.
But the combat looks sick. But those are my top 5.
All right. Well, I don't really have like a particular order for these, but the first one that caught my eye was Scorn.
Yep.
Which I don't know the developer. I want to say it's Bethesda. I know it was on the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase, but it's kind of like a Doom-like, but it's more along the lines of a body horror, kind of like John Carpenter or The Fly. So I'm really interested in that because it kind of looks like a combination of Doom mixed with a horror game. And the action looked relatively fast-paced, just like a Doom game you would expect.
The dev for Scorn is Ebb Software.
id?
Ebb.
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 Eb? Oh, okay.
I don't know what else they've made, but
I'm not familiar with them. So
yeah.
There might be a new one.
it might be an indie studio.
Yeah.
Just going to Xbox, which, to my knowledge, is kind of like their focus now, especially with the game preview program. Because I know one of them, like a game preview that they've been working on the Xbox preview for a while is coming out is Grounded. They're like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids survival game. But in that vein, one of the games I'm looking forward to is Arc 2. I don't know why I love that game. I don't know if it's because how absurd it got with its DLC later. Like, I got back into it in like October or November, and one of my friends from my previous job rented a server, and we would just play on that, and we would go across like 3 different worlds on 3 different servers he was renting. But oh my god, what are they called? There's these cats, I think they're called like Night Stalkers or something like that, but they can jump like 250 feet in the air. They can swim insanely fast. They can go invisible.
Oh, God.
It's just the absurdity of it. But it looks like it's actually continuing the narrative that Ark had in its like lore that you could find in the game, where it's like this colony ship that's going from a dying world, and the Ark is just a simulation, and you're for the most part surviving in a simulation. But the later few DLC, you're on the colony ship with the dinosaurs and other animals and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
That's cool.
in the second game, I don't know if you're going to be playing as your custom character or it's going to have a separate story mode or this. But we have, what's his name? Vin Diesel
Yeah, that's
is
what I
going
was
to be in
say.
it. The trailer
When
is like the story, like the reveal trailer is in the perspective of the daughter talking about the colony ship, and she's on the back of a T-Rex with Vin Diesel controlling it.
Interesting.
So-
What
Yeah,
a
that's-
wild thing to say.
As much as I'm not a Vin Diesel movie fan, it's interesting to see him in a game like
that's
Ark.
really interesting.
It's just like a CG likeness of him. It's so.
I don't know if they got his voice at all because it
it's
sounded
kind of
like his.
uncanny, honestly.
his,
'Cause it's the first thing I think of when you bring up Ark 2.
I do know he grunts a few times in the trailer, and it sounds like him. So I don't know if that's the extent of his voice acting for the game, but it seems like it'd be a fun little thing. The next thing I've got is Redfall, which is like a first-person survival horror that reminds me a lot of Prey, or the reboot of Prey by Bethesda, which is a single-player or four-player co-op shooter game where you're in a town that is overrun by vampires, but not like your romantic comedy vampire or like your Dracula, like the
The
40s
traditional.
version of Dracula. Like we're talking about super overpowered vampires that literally blocked out the sun for the entire town and pushed all the water out of the town so they can move unabated throughout the town. So it's constant night. There's no running water, so they can cross any river, stuff like that. Different class systems. So it looks like you have an engineer, your standard like combat. They have like a cryptozoologist. I don't know what that role would kind of fill. And then it kind of reminds me of Borderlands with this one character. The narrator for the trailer essentially has like these psychic powers. She's kind of like the siren for Borderlands, essentially.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Then, kind of in the same vein still for me, horror games. Alien: The Dark Descents. It's going to be kind of like a top-down adventure game. I don't know if it's going to be like a co-op experience, single player. It gave me a lot of like XCOM vibes at first, but it's going to be kind of more like on the vein of Diablo, but without the looter part.
Like a stick shooter.
I think it's going to be like a third person. You control the squad, though. You're controlling a
Gotcha.
squad,
Okay.
but it's active rather than a turn-by-turn like XCOM from what it looks like.
Yes.
So it's kind of, but it's more of an adventure game.
Interesting. Okay.
So you're controlling the squad. You'll give them specific actions,
It almost sounds like a CRPG.
kind of. But we'll know more as it goes on.
Sure.
And then the last thing I'm looking forward to, the Callisto Protocol, which,
Yep.
oh my god, it looks
so
great.
Good. It looks so good.
With Dead Space being one of the first like horror games I got into and got me into the genre. This being from the original creators, you can see it too with a lot of the combat. Like you still have the gauntlet for like the anti-gravity. It looks like you still have stasis, but it's essentially a spiritual successor to Dead Space, or maybe prequel or just offshoot of the series, because a lot of the mechanics look similar but very different. But I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I mean, it sounds like Summerfest in general for us. Like, I feel there's a lot of games that
There's a
came
lot of
out or
stuff I didn't
coming
even
out.
say.
I mean, there's even more than what we're saying. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, definitely feel free to like tell us in the comments like what is your guys' top 5.
Yeah.
But like, we're really excited about these.
Like, I know you and me are both excited for Starfield.
Yeah.
But-
yeah, Starfield's gonna be sick.
After that reveal, it kind of reminds me of No Man's Skies and in a Fallout setting. So it's essentially going to be like oh, you have 1,000 worlds to explore, but they're going to be mostly empty.
Well,
Right,
I mean,
well,
if
that's what I was kind of curious about, because like No Man's Sky is
it's a completely
procedurally
different game now.
generated. So like, how curated are
Can
the
it actually
planets
be?
Like,
in Starfield?
It's going to be like a Fallout or Skyrim game. It's going to be a set world, but Todd Howard likes to exaggerate a lot.
of course.
So when he says 1,000 worlds, I could see it where you're landing in one specific spot and you can't explore a whole lot.
It'll
Or-
probably be like there's like 15 like main planets.
Yeah, and there's
the
going to be
rest
like,
are, small
1,000 worlds that are mostly barren. It's going to be kind of like Mass Effect is what I'm going to guess, like the first one, where you're exploring these worlds and it's just essentially a barren wasteland.
Literally just going
And
there to get.
You're spending
oil or
15
something.
you're spending 15 minutes driving to a specific spot there to interact with something, then you're going to leave.
Now it would be cool if they added where maybe those places are barren, but you're going there for a reason, like to get
Yeah,
like fuel
other-
source or
and
something.
then an actual reason to go back
Right.
versus go there once and you're done. You check it off.
Yeah. Now, granted, obviously, like you said, he's an exaggerator, so we'll see
So-
what actually happens. But
Hopefully it's actually good
yeah.
and not like a flop like Fallout 76. So.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps it up for us. Like I said, expect some stuff in the future. We're going to be making reviews for a lot of these games that we're talking about, or at least
game
like
breakdown, some sort of
right,
coverage.
or at least some kind of game breakdown or coverage, just talking about it in general. So look forward to that. As usual, just make sure you check out our socials in the About section. It's going to take you to our
Linktree or Twitter, Instagram,
Yep.
Spreaker, Facebook if you still use it, so on and so forth.
and that's all in the About section, so make sure you guys check out our stuff there. We'll be posting things more frequently as we get a few more videos up here. Other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.